Hello, my name's Elaine and I'm one of the education officers working for East Sussex Fire and Rescue Service, and I've come along to Bexhill Community Fire Station today to meet some of the firefighters. I'm really here to ask them about recent incidents that they've been to, but also ask them a little bit about joining the fire service, about the qualifications that you might need to become a firefighter. Now we're inside Bexhill Fire Station and I've got some of the crew here to meet you today. We've got John and Stuart and Toby. So I thought it'd be quite nice for each of them to introduce themselves and also just tell you a little bit about how long they've been in the service.
Right, so my name's John Wood. I'm a whole-time firefighter at Greenwatch at Bexhill Fire Station. I joined in 2006, retained Battle, and I was transferred over to Bexhill, and I've been a whole-time firefighter since 2018.
Hi, my name's Stuart Lawson. I'm a retained firefighter here at Bexhill Fire Station. I've been in about 9 months now, and I'm just going through my probation phase.
My name's Toby Fry. Like Stuart, I'm retained here at Bexhill and have been for around 4 years.
So that's brilliant. Now I heard whilst you were talking that you were saying something about hold time and something about retained. So I just wondered if one of you might like to explain the difference, maybe.
Yeah, so like John is whole time. So here at Bexhill, that's 4 days on, 4 days off. That's a 24-hour period for 4 days in a row, and 24 hours off, 4 days in a row. And me and Stuart, we have what we call an alerter or a pager. We come in specifically when that goes off. We're not here during the day. Or anything else.
So John, how many fire engines have you got here and how many crew in total?
We've got 2 fire engines, so our Echo, our Whiskey, and we've also got a specialised station, so we do one rescue here, so any high work, off beachy head, recovery, anything from tower cranes. We've also got a command support unit, which any incident over 4 fire engines are needed, that gets sent out. That's to control the incident.
So Stuart, some of the young people that are watching this today might want to know a little bit about the qualifications that are needed to become a firefighter.
So at the moment in East Sussex Fire and Rescue, you don't need any set qualifications. The standard you need to roughly meet is a grade 4 or C equivalent. There is also a physical side of the job, so there are fitness tests you need to carry out. There's a bleed test, which you need to get to level 8.8, which is something you can practice at home. And then there's some other physical activities on a day that you need to do. There's a ladder climb, there's an enclosed space, just to check that you're happy with those aspects of the job. But in terms of qualifications, there's no set qualifications, but you do need to be roughly a C or grade 4, and there are some written tests that you need to do to meet that level.
I noticed you said 8.8 for fitness. Can you just explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, so there is a bleed test, so it's a 20-metre shuttle run, and it goes up in stages. I think it's every 10 levels it goes up, and the current standard is level 8.8. So if you Google that, you can find the bleed test and you can give it a go at home.
I'm a water safety champion for East Sussex, and what that means is I want to promote and push the water safety, because it's a silent killer. People don't associate us going to water safety incidents, but we're the people they ring for fresh water in East Sussex, and all the other fire brigades around the country carry this equipment. It's a standard issue on the frontline pumps, and it's so we can enter the water. We've got throw lines, so you can actually throw this to the individual in the water. En route, we put an immersion suit on, because obviously the cold is a big killer. You think of cold water shock. That it doesn't matter how good a swimmer you are. If you go into cold water, it creates an involuntary spasm, and you lose your coordination. So that's why it's so essential to be really safe around water.
Yeah. So how do people end up in the water in the first place?
Basically just slipping down banks. It's that simple. Unfortunately, adults without alcohol is a big issue. They get overly confident. But going to rescue their dogs, that's quite a common thing. People go in, the dog will get out and the person's trapped down there. The amount of rain we've had recently, we've had a lot of rainfall. The banks are very slippery. Once you get in there and you get cold, it's very hard for you to get back out.
Okay, so obviously if someone then finds themselves in that situation, what can they do to give themselves a bit more time, maybe, till you get there? Is there a message?
Try and keep calm.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they can swim, that helps, but it's not necessarily a guarantee. Shout for help. So don't sit there. But if it's really cold water, and they're not actually like, they don't have to actually be like having to try to swim if they're actually in cold water. Up to their waist, just try and keep still, but make noise to attract attention and get someone within the fire service.
I think generally the advice is that inland is us to deal with, 999 to ask for fire service, and then if it's out to sea, it's the Coast Guard, you'd ask for 999.
Yeah.
That's the sort of divide, but we can obviously cross over, work together if it's on the Coast Guard and things like that.
And of course, we always encourage young people always to, if they want to go swimming, go where there's a lifeguard on duty. Would you also say that's a good
Definitely.
idea?
Yeah.
Luckily, Stuart deals a lot of the coastline as his full-time job.
So obviously where I'm retained, I have a full-time job as well. I'm one of the beach managers in Canberra and Bexhill. So we would always say swim in a lifeguarded zone. You always know where it is because it's got the red and yellow flags. So anytime you turn up to the beach, look for the red and yellow flags. That's where the lifeguards will be, and that's where you want to swim. If you do fall in, like John said, the first thing you want to do is to try and resist that urge to take that gasp if it's cold water. The RNLI at the moment are promoting their cold water shot campaign. So what they're promoting is float to live. So that when you fall in, try and not gasp as you fall in. Try and resist that urge. Lay on your back. Try and compose yourself. Use your arms to float.
So we've come around the other side now of the fire engine, and I've noticed you've got these interesting looking cutters here. So I'm guessing this has got something to do with car accidents, maybe?
Yes, so essentially these are just giant scissors, so they just cut through metal and cars. They might hear them referred to as the jaws of life, and we just call them cutters and spreaders. So these are the spreaders, basically just spread anything apart. Very strong, also can lift things. Yeah, there's main equipment for rescues from multi-seas, road traffic collisions.
Yeah.
That's the main thing we use.
Right, so obviously sometimes people are trapped inside vehicles when there's been an accident. So what should people do? How can people make sure they're safer if they're in a car, maybe? Have you got any advice?
So essentially wearing a seatbelt is still the number one thing to sort of, if you're involved in multi-sea, you're going to be better off if you've got a seatbelt on. Then it's things like drink driving, drug driving, when you're talking about the drivers, and also be on your mobile phone whilst driving are the big no-nos,
Yeah.
the big things it causes.
And mobile phones, I think, is a huge issue, not just for people driving, but for pedestrians, people walking.
Yeah, so again, road safety doesn't always apply to the drivers, it can be the pedestrians as well. Just being aware of your surroundings can make all the difference, don't wander into the roads, and it's just concentrating on your surroundings. So,
Yeah, because I've heard, sadly, young people are being hurt where they're getting run over because they're looking at their phone, they're listening to music.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it, it's just not concentrating on what's going on around you, and something that can easily be avoided is just paying attention really.
So Toby's just mentioned about wearing a seatbelt, but I think there's a more of an important message about how to put on a seatbelt properly. Were you able to show us?
Yes, of course. Never modify the seatbelt, and when you get into the vehicle, you put it across, wear it correctly. So it's across, so it spreads the load and does exactly how the manufacturer designed it to do. Rear seat passengers, especially young ladies, have a habit of doing that. It will not protect you, and you'll get thrown forward and you'll impact either the front seat or the passenger seat, or obviously if you're driving you'll impact the actual steering wheel where the airbag will go off, and it will greatly increase the injuries.
So following on from what John said there, another thing with road traffic collisions, big no-no is that in our modern day, the passenger always has an airbag in the dashboard. So if anybody sits like this, if that airbag goes off in a collision, your knees are going straight towards yourself at X miles per hour. So this is a big no-no to have your feet on this, sitting up like this. Even if you think there's nothing going on the road ahead, this is not a position to sit in.
So we're going to talk about the uniform that you wear to make sure that you keep yourselves nice and safe. And I've noticed obviously you have a helmet there.
Yes, this is our standard fire helmet, and we wear this to all incidents, even if we don't have any risk of getting anything on our heads. We just wear this as a precaution. And it's essentially just a standard helmet, but we've got a visor and some goggles fitted in there just for eye protection. And That is John, so I'll hand that to John and
So-
put that on for you.
I suppose that's got the same principle then when people are on their bikes? and
Yeah, so it's
motorbikes?
exactly the same thing. It's a helmet to protect your head. It's the same as that for most cyclists, for cyclists, anything like that. Skateboarders, all of that same. It's just protecting the head.
Yeah, good idea. And what about a nursery jacket then? Is that something new? I've not seen that before. When would you wear that?
Yes, in the past we used to wear a full fire jacket, a high-vis jacket over the top, but we've been issued with these because visibility is so important on the roads. When we go out on the roads to car accidents or if we just anything, if we're directing traffic, we must wear a high-vis jacket. Even reversing the vehicle as a banks person, we always wear this jacket so we're visible to the public, obviously motorists and obviously our drivers, so they can see where we are.
Yeah.
So it's very important to have that. So if you're ever riding a push bike or a motorbike, always have a high-vis jacket on.
So that's for road incidents, and then you've got your other one that you wear for when you
Yes.
go to fires.
Yeah, fire. This is for like everything else. So we've got a fire hood on here, which obviously protects us, and then actual structural firefighting jacket. En route to an incident, before we leave the station, we actually put the set on. It's a little bit tight. As you can see, it's and when we arrive at the incident, so get off backwards, and then I'll wait what the officers wants us to do. But if it's a person's reported, it's confirmed, we then go under air.
So would you be going into a fire by yourself?
No, we was going in pairs, we were going to a fire individually. That's just protocol, because if someone gets in trouble, you need someone to help you out with it.
Now John's underwear, this is evidence where he was going into a fire with a partner. His bodyguard here, gives him his reading of his cylinder, so it tells him how long he's got left and also how much pressure's in there. When it's pressurised, it has 300 bar pressure in it, which is about 35 minutes of air, depending on how hard he's working. He's then got some cutters down here on his left, so if there's any cables in a building that he could get trapped with, he's got cables to cut himself out. He's got a radio next to him, so he can talk to everyone outside the incident and also his partner that he's in there with. That's how he gets through. He's got a voice amplifier on his mask as well, so John, if you talk.
That's the thing you want, change control.
So he just amplifies his voice a little bit. And around on his other side, he's got a personal line, which goes out to 6 metres. So you can attach that to his other wearer who he's in there with, or if there are guidelines in the building sometimes, he'd attach it to those as well. He's also got a torch, so when it's dark in buildings or smoke fields, that can help him find doors, locate casualties.
So you've just seen John there in all his fire kit, and that's all precautions that we have to take in order to put out a fire in your home. If that was to happen to you, it's just a case of getting out, staying out, and calling 999, and we will come with all that equipment, put that fire out for you. Make sure the big takeaway is that you've got a fire alarm fitted in each level of your home, which gives you early warning of any fire should there happen to be one.
Of course, you don't always go to fires happening inside buildings. I hear sometimes you have fires out in the open in different places, and also I've heard that a lot of them have deliberately started. So, have any of you ever been to that type of fire?
Yes, I've been to many. You used to call them miscellaneous, they're called. It doesn't seem that serious, you know, a bit of a joke, someone lights a cigarette, smoke flicks it down, or just lights a little fire. But a fire will grow, every minute it doubles in size. So if you're in a disused building and you set a fire, there's a good chance it'll spread. And we've had this down in when the new bypass went in Bexhill, they set light to a house down there. We went there. There's very little water. It's use open water. And the other thing, while we're dealing with that, we're being taken away from a serious car accident or someone who's actually generally trapped where it's an accidental fire. So it's something that annoys firefighters because it's a waste of time, waste of public funds, and also it's extremely dangerous because en route we're using the same blue lights and sirens and we're putting ourselves at risk and other road users at risk to go to a fire that is deliberate.
So when there is a deliberate fire, is it just the firefighters go or any other emergency service?
If it is a large fire, then ambulance will immediately go. Anything over 4 pumps, they will send an ambulance. So, and the ambulance are very, very overstretched with COVID pandemic. And then the police will get involved. And the seriousness of actual lighting a fire, you would talk to, but your criminal record, and it's on there. It's a very hard thing once you're tied with it, as someone who's deliberately lit the fire, as an arsonist, it will follow you right away through. You know, even if you're at a very young age, you've got that on your record.
So obviously deliberate fire setting here in the Bexhill and Hastings area is a problem. In fact, I've heard of a place called the Coombe Valley Country Park, and I'm thinking, is that quite a difficult area to be putting fires out? How do you put those fires out?
So the fire engines have 1,800 litres of water which they carry on them, but once we use that up we need to find a fire hydrant. Normally they're in towns and you get quite a few around towns, but the further out into the countryside you go, the fewer they are. So water, if it's a larger fire, is really difficult to come by, so that is a challenge for us, is trying to get enough water. There's all sorts of things that we try and do. You get extra pumps there, run water relays, or sometimes we've got a large bowser that can deliver large quantities of water, but no, that is a real challenge for us, out in the country park as well, yeah.
Yeah, and another worry for me is obviously we're coming into hopefully a better summer. You know, hopefully we'll have some hotter weather, so potentially could that be an issue as well?
Yeah, definitely. Fires in the open can be an issue. Like John said a minute ago, a small fire will double in size every minute. So if there's a fire out in the country park and it has been hot and dry, that can spread quite quickly and easily, and access to those areas in a large fire engine is quite difficult.
So if someone ever thinks about fire setting, what's your advice to them, really?
Don't do it.
Right, there you go. Yeah, don't do it, really. Think about your actions, think about other people, think about the consequences of your actions to yourself and others. Is that right?
Absolutely. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to say thank you very much for letting me come along this afternoon. Obviously in our virtual world at the moment with COVID it has been very difficult, but thank you Tony, Stuart and John for your time. I hope the young people have learned something today by listening to this film, and that obviously the most important thing is of course that you will keep yourself safe.
Remember to test your smoke alarm once a week and get out stout call 999.